While the harsh, sparsely populated areas of Red Dead Redemption perfectly captured the lonely life of a wandering cowboy, the emptiness, unfortunately, also found its way into some of the game's supposedly busier areas. The vast expanses of the desert were great and have to stay, but places like Blackwater could have benefited from a slightly more bustling feel. After all, if the populous areas of this time are going to be the main social areas of the time as well, surely there would be just a few more residents wandering around, right? Stories of Red Dead's legendary Cougar Man may have found its entertaining way into gaming lore, but there's no denying the game was just a tad too glitchy. Texture fails and feature pop-ins were far too frequent, even in the more barren areas of the world. A few can be overlooked, but Red Dead certainly flirted with the annoyance limit on numerous occasions. We're sure that the advanced technology of the new console generation will help Rockstar overcome this in the next installment, but hey, it can't hurt to remind them. Customization was a feature of Red Dead Redemption, but it worked from a very basic set of collectible items and upgrades. The next installment of the game should take this to a greater level of detail, making the materials players collect feel more immediately useful as they upgrade their character's gear. A move like this would add to the authenticity of Rockstar's Frontier, as skills like crafting and foraging would have been vitally important to surviving the harsh landscapes and exposure to grim weather. One of the more frustrating limitations on the player's movements within Red Dead Redemption was the almost instant death that befell John Marston each time he entered any body of water. Seems someone clearly didn't have their 5-meter swim badge. While the lack of swimming served as a barrier to keep players within the allocated map, surely there was a better way. Allowing characters to enter reasonable levels of water would be an improvement in the sequel, but perhaps not to the Olympian levels that GTA 5's characters can manage. The minimalist approach to non-natural sound in Red Dead Redemption worked well in capturing a bleak tone at many points of the game's narrative, akin to the way absent music was so effective in the film No Country for Old Men. In the game's wider areas, however, a little extra sound could have worked wonders, and it even could have felt organic. Having roving travelers singing ditties and plucking banjos like the way pirates sung shanties in Assassin's Creed 4 would be a lovely touch in the sequel. The turmoil of John Marston's post-Frontier world made for an effective period in which to set a story about changing fortunes and a rejection of the old ways, but it didn't always allow players to fully experience the life of a legendary outlaw in the West. Setting the next installment as a prequel, approximately 10 to 15 years earlier, would place players right in the middle of the age of the Frontier and would allow for even more gun-toting, stagecoach-tipping rowdiness. John Marston was certainly not lacking in helpful friends before the end of Red Dead Redemption, but most of them simply drifted in and out of his life as the story required them to. So how about a more reliable group? To take a page out of GTA 5's heist book, players could recruit prospective members into a crew or gang to help them with larger missions and maintaining their homestead and reputation in the game. Depending on the player's alignment, these could either be willing, helpful souls or deadly cowboys keen to take whatever they can from the world around them. Speaking of deadly cowboys, how about a little less conversation and a little more action? Much of John Marston's adventure was spent talking his way back into the graces of the powers that be and essentially working for the government to atone for his prior mistakes. Doesn't sound like much of an outlaw life to us. Towing the line between good and evil just a little more would make a life of chaos and crime in the game feel more organic than it ever could with do-gooder Marston. How about Cowboy Trevor instead? With GTA 5, Rockstar has revolutionized what can be done with an online community. And while marauding around San Andreas with vicious terrorists disguised as hipsters and clowns may be fun, it's in a world like that of Red Dead Redemption where this online mode would truly flourish. The very tempestuous nature of the Frontier would make the selfish smash-and-grab lifestyle of most GTA Online characters an actual necessity. Players could raid each other's homesteads, execute daring train robberies, and of course, challenge each other to all of the races and duels they like in a real-time online Wild West. One of the truly surprising things that Red Dead brought to the table was the excellent zombie-centric DLC Undead Nightmare. A new sequel would simply have to have an equally wacky out-there expansion to complement the main game and dial up the mythical value of the already legendary Wild West. Where does Rockstar go from zombies, you ask? Why not look to the sky? The truth is supposedly out there, and who better to protect naive farmers and prospectors from an alien invasion than a daring cowboy?